Discovering possibilities and potential with passion every day. This is a TPPN production. Welcome to the iPad Possibilities Podcast, episode number 66, GTI Spindle. Welcome. And this is the iPad Possibilities Podcast, and for today's episode, the Wednesday-Thursday episode, I bring to you an interview that I didn't even know I was going to be doing this week, and I'm yet again putting off the final music episode, at least one more week here, for a very interesting discussion on using the iPad in the workplace, and more, in particular, not just a workplace, but in a factory. That's right. So Thomas Honig of GTI Spindle, he's the owner of this company. He's been using the iPad and even the iPhone in substitute of $30,000 analyzers, very expensive pieces of equipment. And he's going to just share with me and us today how he's using the iPad in this environment, why it is such an incredible device for this very tool, and how's he making all this work. It's something I've always dreamed of, back in the early days before the iPad was released, is like, what are these vertical markets gonna do with the iPad? What's gonna happen here with all these very in particular markets that I don't know a great deal about? And finally, we've got a very cool use case of the iPad in a factory setting where it's actually analyzing spindle machinery as to how soon the machine's going to break down and, when that will all take place. And that's what today's episode is all about. I'm very excited to bring it to you because I love hearing from these vertical markets and seeing exactly what are they doing with the iPad. And it's an exciting future that all of these different vertical markets will be soon utilizing the iPad as a tool, as something productive and cost-saving for businesses. This is a cost-saving device for businesses just like these. So it's very exciting. I'm glad to bring it to you. And before we get to the interview, I just wanted to share with you, I'm very thankful that this episode was able to be released this week. I today just came across some hard drive corruption things going on my end with my podcasting hard drive. So I invested in some software, Data Rescue 3, and it's been a great piece of software that's been able to recover all of my podcasting files, and I will now be purchasing another 2 terabyte drive to have as a backup drive so I don't have to worry about this in the future. So with that said, I'm just very thankful I'm able to bring this to you today. And with that said, let's just get on to the interview for today. Well, I'm here today with Thomas Honig, and he owns a machine tooling company. Is that right?
Yeah, that's correct.
And can you kind of introduce your company and what you've done so far?
Sure. What our company does is the name is GTI Spindle Technology, and we repair, rebuild, and provide new precision spindles for industry and production. And a lot of people don't know what a spindle is. Any manufacturing machine, whether it's drilling, milling, grinding of automobile bearings to airplane components to this or that, all those machines that make all the components that we use every day in our cars and airplanes, and roller skate bearings to even spindles that wind Barbie's hair for that matter, are all done with very precision spindles. And in that, an important part of what we do is vibration analysis, because vibration analysis is used in that sector, but it's also used to measure our power generators that generate power to our homes, water treatment plants, and all those different things, especially a production plant. Also, if a machine goes down, everything stops. Your power stops, your water stops, production facilities stop. They don't like that because it costs them lots of money.
Yeah.
And what the analyzer does, it's usually a $30,000 to a $50,000 piece of equipment. The analyzer actually measures that piece of equipment to know when it's going to fail. It measures its bearing condition, its rotation properties for balance and misalignment, so that when a certain level is acquired or a frequency is hit, we know, okay, this is going to break down on such and such or by such and such a day. Mm-hmm. Well, now the bearings can be procured, or whatever replacement parts, O-rings, etc. Now they can shut down over a weekend with a planned downtime so that we don't lose power and these things. So it's a very important part of production and in the industrial life is this analysis equipment. And GTI, me being the owner, I have two partners. One fella is one of my best friends. He's the technical end of the business. The other fella was a customer of ours years ago that we got into business with, a dear friend now also. And the three partners, I've had a very, I don't know what to call it, passion with when the iPhone came out. Mm-hmm. I was turned away from the AT&T store saying, "Oh, the iPhone's more of a toy. It's not. Don't turn in your BlackBerry." I do a lot of reading, and I said, "Boy, everything kind of contradicts that. I got to try this thing out anyway," and I did. I was so intrigued with Apple's products. I ended up buying a MacBook, and I've converted my whole company. All its employees all have iPhones. Many have iPads, and this technology and how powerful this computer is, or this devices are. Yeah. I just said, boy, our analyzers are so expensive. I said, I can't believe somebody couldn't write an application, because it's not brain surgery. It's just a lot of computations, which these devices are great doing. And I said, geez, there just has to be something that can be done here. And I contacted a developer who is Faber Acoustical. They are out of Salt Lake City. They're just outside Salt Lake City. And he was already written an app for acoustical measurement. And acoustics and vibration are exactly the same and similar in certain properties.
And the physical machine that you guys use, how does it get its measurements? Is there some hardware hook into the actual device, or what's it do?
It's this. I know your listeners probably won't be able to see it, but it's an accelerometer. It's just a sensor of all sorts. And it has a magnetic connector that you just connect to any rotating piece of equipment, not on the rotational part, obviously, on the housing or somewhere where it can transmit vibration. And we've developed a way to plug that hardware right into the dock port of the iPad or iPhone.
Okay. And then you probably use some developer apps. You don't use the App Store to distribute this, I'm guessing.
Yes. No, it's on the App Store.
Oh, is it really? Okay.
Yep, it's called Signal Scope Pro. It's not your, $5, $10, $15 app. It's about, I think it's $80 on the App Store. But when you talk about replacing an analyzer that's,
30,000 or
25 to 30 to $50,000, it's a big difference. So.
And then you actually got approval to use that dock connector to do that kind of work, right?
No, we haven't got approval. I've written into Apple to get distribution rights, because what I want to do is sell to my customers that use this equipment every day in their plant.
Yeah.
In a packaged kit form. They'd get their iPad, they'd get the dock connectors, which we've all made pretty special. Of course, we're going in through the camera kit.
I got you.
Just works real good. It's also used. Ben Faber from Faber Acoustical. That app also handles all the acoustic measurements. He uses that same dock port for his microphones and such to use that end of the application.
Okay. And since you're using the camera connection kit, do you use a different attachment for iPhones?
No, we go through the same. We don't use the camera kit. You're right, but we still go through the dock port. There's actually a little Tuneware microphone kit that's also sort of an on-shelf item. Which I think is approved by Apple, and we just simply put an audio cord into that and go from that to our accelerometer. Okay. But I have to be honest, the vibration analyzer works phenomenally on the iPhone. It's great, but the screen being that small, when you start manipulating the graph to look at your frequencies, it gets a little tedious, but on the iPad, it's just fabulous. The analyzer we use, I don't know if I can show you here real quick, but this is the case it comes in. It looks like about 3 laptops.
Yeah.
It weighs about I don't know, 25, 30, well, maybe not 25 pounds, but every bit of 15 to 20 pounds. And, very archaic. And you have to, there are smaller ones out there that are probably maybe a little thicker than the iPad and a little bit heavier. But then you've got to bring them back to a PC and you've got to download it, integrate it with their software to print out things. And you think about the iPad and
So
it's
you
like,
initially, basically, you just get the stats with that tool, and then you have to download those stats, those recordings, those measurements to your PC or Mac, and then analyze it, right?
right.
Okay.
Where on the iPad, it's all done seamless right on the app. And now here you've got this graph in front of you. You've already manipulated the screen, looking at the frequencies you want to look at, and you hit boom, save to photos. It's in the photos. You email it right to your customer or whoever you're servicing at the time. And before you even leave the machine, he's got a copy of the report on his computer already.
Yeah, exactly.
Just fabulous. I mean,
and are these pretty easy to analyze? Could you, quickly train most of your employees? Just to analyze it as they're going about their day, people with iPhones and...
In vibration analysis, to really get good at analyzing a machine to try to find a specific niche problem, it takes some training for that. But to run this iPad versus any of the analyzers that are on the market today at that huge money, I can, within 2 hours, fully train somebody to take data, be able to get that data to wherever it needs to go. So ease of training is 1,000 times better.
That's awesome.
So we were so excited. That's why I got that newspaper article sent to you.
I saw it. That's incredible. It's like, this is kind of the stuff I was thinking of, having, iPads help out with factory type work. Exactly.
And where does that open the door from here? You think about what other measurements, temperature and electrical measurements for current. If this opens the door for that, all kinds of instrument companies can write an application, and that has the power and the computing power to basically become any kind of test analyzer in the field. And because it's so business friendly with the emailing and communication part of the device, it just opens the door to so many more, as you say, possibilities.
And where'd this idea come from?
Well, again, my passion with the Apple products, when I was turned away like that, it was more like I was on a quest to prove them wrong. I don't know. And as I started to get acclimated to the iOS, if you will, and everything that it could do, I started pushing it on my employees, and they were getting all excited about it, to the point that we actually started our own web store now for accessories, for the iPad and the iPhone, which is completely unparalleled to the business that we're in, which is GTI Spindle. That's how exciting the whole thing got.
I was kind of wondering about that. You sell these, or do you actually sell these like $25,000, $30,000 equipments?
No, you use them, and we actually perform the vibration analysis. So we've been the ones that probably have $250,000 worth of these.
Okay.
Now paperweights, because we've got iPad.
Yeah, I was wondering. It's like you're gonna put this company out of business.
We want to sell them on eBay, but kind of contradicts us trying to sell them later. But we started a website called the Gadget Freeway. We just went online Friday, and we're eventually, when this is packaged, that will be on the store as well, and we'll sell it through GTI Spindle, because our customers are just, I go on site with this iPad, and all of a sudden I got an accelerometer on there, and they know what a vibration analyzer is, and they go, "Hey, is that the new iPad?" I said, yeah, we had a guy write an app for it. It works fantastic. And they're just floored. They got to have one. They got to have one today, and then they'll say, "Oh, I can get one for this guy," because I still think these are industrial guys that are on the floor. Some of them are managers, and boy, to have an excuse to tell their boss, "We need an
I need an iPhone or iPad,"
that's just the bomb for them.
What kind of do you need special cases with a factory setting to make sure they don't get damaged, or how do you guys go about that?
I developed a bag that you can open and put the iPad in, and it hangs from your neck, so that when you're only holding one hand, it's in the bag, kind of protected, and you can type and manipulate, and because when you take a reading, you want to say, okay, this is serial number, machine number, this location. So yeah, we kind of developed a bag too. That's on the store also for layman people to have as well. But in those environments, it can get, you don't want to just have a naked iPad out there bouncing around. So,
and is your company more of a like a consultant company that comes in and does these and analyzes, or do you guys actually own factories that you produce like these products?
No, what our company does, 25% of our business is probably on-site analysis of finding out what's wrong with machinery. The spindle technology is the key component in any machine is that rotating part called the spindle that either takes the metal off or whatever it does. And they're very precision. They have very high cost bearings in them. And of course, they break down regularly. That's why we use the vibration analysis. We have 3 facilities across the United States that have technicians and labs with clean rooms that repair those devices and then send them back to the customer so they're back up and running. And that's our business. About that 25% is the service that we offer to say, hey, we can help know when things are going to fail, or we'll train their internal people to do it themselves so that they're keeping an eye on, because you don't go to Ford or Boeing or any of these companies. There's acres of machinery under one roof that has to be maintained. One key machine goes down, the whole plant stops. It can be very, very treacherous from there. So,
and do you guys fly out to the different locations, or do you guys tend to drive out?
No, we do driving if it's probably under an 8-hour period from the facility that we're at. We've got one in Chicago, one in Detroit for that automotive area.
Yeah.
And then Manchester, New Hampshire is where the company started and is our home headquarters here, which we love this area. So I'm not going to move soon, but I probably spend 50% of my time at the other 2 facilities or around about the country visiting other companies.
So I was thinking if you're doing a lot of flying and need to take these machines with you, that'd save a lot of, cost of just getting that 30-pound or whatever pound box with you.
Yeah, we used to ship that big thing because nobody wants to carry it.
Yeah.
And just the shipping cost. Now you have this little bag with an iPad in it, and you saw the accelerometer. That'll fit in, your jacket pocket or, in your toiletry bag, and you're ready to go.
Yeah. How expensive and hard to make is the external plugins for the iPad to get this all to work?
That was my biggest challenge because iPhone and when the iPad came out, they completely reconfigured the dock connector.
Did they really?
So my little TuneWare device that worked on the iPhone, I plugged it into the iPad when I was so excited to get it back. I said, this is going to be the bomb.
Yeah.
It didn't recognize it. And I went, oh, my God. So I called the developer. He said, yeah, I know. I had the same problem. And ended up with a company, which we all probably know in the tech world is Griffin, has a line out with USB on one end and a line in and out on the other. It's called the iMic.
Yep, I've heard of those. I do not have one yet.
And that was the piece of the puzzle that took a couple weeks to search down that clicked it all together with, of course, the camera kit.
Yeah.
And all that does is enable me to go right into the accelerometer, and we're in business.
And is this attachment? It's basically a glorified mic then. Is that? Or
yeah, an accelerometer, all it really is if it were a microphone, it would be a microphone. It just takes what would be audio sounds and it's measuring. It's got a piezometer in there that's just measuring vibration instead of sound.
Okay.
So that's how it's so familiar with and that's why Ben Faber and Faber Acoustical was able to make this work. Is he said it is a vibration analyzer already.
Yeah.
It just, and he kind of put one section of the app just sort of dedicated for FFT vibration analysis, and it works slick. I'm sure you probably saw some of the screenshots on the newspaper and such.
I did, yeah. What else has this developer been creating? You mentioned a couple other projects he was working on.
Yeah, he is a very unique fella, and he does very well for himself just Faber Acoustical specializes in developing intuitive software for performing real-time acoustic signal analysis on the world's most advanced operating system, Mac OS X.
Yep.
The iPhone, iPad was just when the iPhone came out. So it was really writing this kind of tooling or software for audio analysis and acoustic analysis for iPad for several years before the iPhone came out. When the iPhone came out, he had the same sight that I saw as, wow, that thing's a powerful unit. It'll do what I need to do, and now it's portable. And that's where he's gone. And he's definitely working at optimizing what we have here. One of the projects we're working on together it's a little bit further down the line, but it would be a key to this whole thing, would to have a Bluetooth or a Wi-Fi accelerometer that we could just either leave in a spot.
Oh, that'd be great.
Or, just put several of them on key machines, and then you just walk through the room and pull that information and data with wirelessly.
Yeah.
Now, that would be our end goal. So if there's anybody out there that has that kind of ability, I think I heard on one of the podcasts that I think you're familiar with too and associate with, that there was a microscope out there.
Oh, yeah, I saw this.
Was that on your show?
It wasn't on my show. It was on the iPad show, but Steve brought it with him to PodCamp, Ohio, and we met, and he had that with him, and it was pretty amazing. Yeah.
That's kind of the technology that would make this work, because the microscope basically broadcasts a Wi-Fi signal.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah. So I thought that was cool.
Broadcast to I think 50 different iPads at the same time, so you could potentially have more than one person analyzing it.
Think about that too. How many managers could be watching key equipment before it fails with that same sort of technology? So that's something we definitely want to work on in the future.
You could also have different tabs, so you could have all your machines, you just tab between the different machines.
Exactly.
So you could just kind of glance at them all or whatever.
It just is, the sky is the limit. And I thought of you guys. I said, boy, the podcasters out there gotta look at this, because that's the real door opener for where this thing can go in the future, is when instrument people and industrial people start seeing what I've seen. And you speak so passionately about the iPad, it's kind of drawn to your because of that. And I said, wow, this is could be really killer for the future.
Yeah, I've been always thinking about this. These vertical markets are just such an incredible place for the iPad, especially as we find use cases like this. It's just amazing.
Exactly.
How do you think other businesses and factories could incorporate this kind of technology without, what machines could use this? Is it a requirement basically for that to have a microphone type of an instrument, or could we get temperature readings through an iPad?
Yeah, it's just a matter of getting through the dock port any particular data, or the ear port for that matter. We actually started by going through the ear jack in the beginning.
Yeah.
And I think, the funny thing, it is a funny thing. Apple, they do obviously a great job of promoting this whole thing, because they're selling millions of them. But when you really think about it, they're not really promoting to that industrial or business sector. That's not their focus.
No, consumer.
And it's people like me that stumble across this, that bought one, just because of their inquisitiveness of it.
Yeah.
Say, wow, this thing's powerful. Look at all it does. I can print from it. I can do this. And you're always looking for new apps and things to do. And I said, geez, I think what's going to happen is this evolution is going to happen. One guy, our company stumbles upon something that just saves, $250,000 in analyzers. And makes the job efficiency go through the roof, because it's small, portable, and emailable, and does all these things. And I think other people are going to stumble upon this too. And you podcasters are going to be the key, because you're getting that word out. You've got websites, you've got your audio content that's just very interesting and nice to listen to. I find myself guilty. I don't listen to music anymore. Listening to you guys. I think that's going to get the word out, and I think that's going to be the evolution, and you guys are going to be the key to it.
Yeah, I kind of agree. Yeah, because we do. That's all we have so much focus on what this device can do, and it's,
and that's how I learn everything. my employees go, God, how do you know all this different things to do this, do that? I said, well, you got to listen to this guy and you got to listen to this podcast and I said, because that's where you learn. They're talking in nice constructive circles with each other sometimes, or just narrating by yourself. And I said, you learn just tons of stuff. And
yeah, you don't have to be the smartest person in the room, but if you surround yourself with all these knowledgeable people, you can become that person.
You can almost do anything with the darn thing, and that's where the inquisitiveness comes from, because you say, boy, if you can do that, I wonder if it could do this, or I wonder if I could find a developer to write that, and that's where it all comes together, I think.
Yeah. How's the app? You mentioned emailing. What kind of stats does it give you? Do you like take a screenshot of or what's the export features?
Yeah, at first we were taking screenshots because you could just press the two buttons, but he incorporated into the app to save it to a data file, and but you get the nice graph and screen, printed out on a nice piece of paper. And when he did it internal to the app, so you can save to photos, as soon as you hit that button, first another screen pops up, and you can type all your serial number and any narration of issue with that machine that you want to put a paragraph in there. You can put it in there, and then it spits out this nice graph and this nice report, and there it's waiting for you at your email. And actually, just this morning, which I heard from you podcasters again, I heard this one, but this new app, ePrint, that I found on the App Store this morning. I said, wow, now I can go to a network printer. I don't need a computer or anything. I can right off a network printer, and here's this beautiful report comes right out.
Yeah. And then the HP printers coming out are going to have, I think that's the ePrint, or HP printers, or...
It does. They did it on a Sharp this morning,
Okay. Yeah, I know HP's having some printers with your own email address you can just email, print jobs to. Yeah. That's pretty amazing.
Well, I hope I haven't over-talked you here, because I just was so excited to get all this out, but...
No, we got plenty of time. I mean, let's see. I'm trying to think what else can talk about here.
Yeah, I had my other notes here. Let me see if I see anything we might have missed.
But what about, have you seen any possibility of integrating iPhone and iPad, using the iPhone as... I don't know. Would those two integrate at all, or are they standalone devices?
In this application, I don't think so. But what is nice with the iPhone, I told you the screen isn't really great, but what's nice is you can take a picture of the components too and include it with your report.
Yeah,
so the iPad comes with a camera.
Yeah.
So actually, you bring up a pretty good question. You get one of those A/B apps with the iPhone, which anybody that's got an iPad generally has an iPhone on their side.
Yeah.
You could always just take the picture with the iPhone and use one of those applications to integrate it back to the iPad, so that you can get that same data and information with a nice picture of the machine or the component that might be acting up right in your report. So you just sort of gave me that idea just now.
Yeah. And where does this go moving forward? Do you have any... you have future plans to package this all up so people can actually purchase these? Anything else beyond that?
We haven't really put anything in the hopper for after that, but I think the main thing would be get the actual sensor to be wireless to the iPad would be a real terrific goal. Because think about windmills, where you got to climb a 40-foot ladder to take a vibration reading that they do on every single one of them. And if you could just put a sensor up there that's Wi-Fi enabled, and you just, at the bottom, all right, windmill number 46, move to the next one.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have to get out of your truck, So things like that. So I think that's where we're probably going to go after here. Okay.
And just so people can find the application, all that, what's the app name again?
The app is Signal Scope Pro.
Okay. And it's in the App Store?
It's in the App Store, yes it is. There is a Signal Scope without the Pro that's a lot less expensive. I don't remember the exact price of the Signal Scope without the Pro, but if you're doing vibration analysis on the level that I've been speaking of, you really need the Pro app.
And to get it all working, you need a camera connection kit, one of the Griffin iMics, and then is that third part something easy to find or create?
It's something we're going to produce. I'm actually trying to get a professional company so that it's compliant with any of the government regulations for wires and cables and things of that nature. And that's where we think GTI's niche is going to be, is to get it in a package for people so that, they don't have to try to piece this thing together themselves. Yeah. And then that way we can offer the training involved, support for when they do have readings and get quiz on something they can't figure out. We have the technicians. They can email the data to our lab here, and we can put technicians around it to say, oh, well, you've got this frequency here. That looks like you've got a bearing on the fourth end going bad, or et cetera, et cetera. So that's where our role, and we see our role in this whole thing.
Okay, very cool. And your company is at gtispindle.com?
Yes, that's correct. We don't have a lot on our website other than a few videos on how to use this. It's mentioned because our release of it officially will be at the IMTS show in Chicago in September, which stands for International Machine Tool Show. It's the largest machine and equipment show for the production sector in the world, actually. They only run it every 2 years. It's a very, very, very big event.
Yeah. Well,
so that's going to be when we unroll this thing.
Oh, and one last question.
Sure.
Are there any things inside the iPad that you hope to see in future versions that would enhance the ability to do what you do? I mean, is the gyroscope something that would help at all? I know vibration stuff. I'm not sure.
Well, actually, it's funny you mention that, because the accelerometer in it does work as a vibration analyzer. I mean, you can take that app and lay your iPhone on a piece of equipment, although that's a pretty dangerous thing.
Yeah.
It's the accelerometers in the iPhone aren't as I guess I would compare it to lines of resolution on a TV. You'd be like, the ones in the iPhone are for certain purposes, and they're sort of like a black and white television, where, the accelerometer that I've showed you there that actually attaches to the equipment is more like a high definition television. So, but yeah, there are instruments inside the iPhone that can improve this app and help. And there are some low frequency, which I can't talk very scientifically about, that Ben Faber from Faber Acoustical could probably definitely speak more intelligently. The low frequency end of the acoustics going into the iPhone on the input part has some distortions in it that he's been working with Apple to try to clean up. They're inconsequential to anybody listening to music or recording what we're doing on a recording. But when you start measuring, acoustical equipment like he does, for a band or this or that, and he gets a little bit of distortion on the low end. So there's some help that Apple could do to propel this along a little bit if they see fit that this has got a future to it. And that's what we're hoping. That's the next step. Is Apple going to recognize that, man, we can go in some avenues with this thing. It's not just a toy. It's not just a real fun thing for people. It's a serious tool.
Yeah, they really need to, I think, open up that dock connector and make it more accessible for developers. That's a complaint I've heard. It's such a laborious process trying to
I've heard
certifications for that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I agree.
Well, thank you, Thomas, for your time. It's been great. Very interesting. This is something I've known was out there, but I had no idea, it existed yet.
Yep.
So that concludes the interview I had with Thomas Honig of GTI Spindle, and it was just very interesting, this whole idea of using an iPad in a factory to replace these, $25,000, $30,000 analyzers. And it's just an interesting topic I thought everyone would appreciate listening to and learning more about something that most people probably have had no idea was out there, just like myself. So I'd love to do more of these shows. If you are a business owner that uses the iPad in a very specialized niche way, I would love to talk to you and share it with the rest of the iPad community here on this show. So you can contact me at iPadPossibilities@gmail.com and 209-542-iPad. And if you want to support the show, you can do that by going to tppn.tv and clicking on the iPad Premium page and finding all the information there, as well in the App Store with the iPad Possibilities Podcast app for $2.99. And with that said, this has been the iPad Possibilities Podcast on tppn.tv. This is Tim, and I'll talk to everyone again for the Friday-Saturday show later this week.